Okay, let's get started. So this is going to be the audio commentary for my comic, A Woman of Dust, and I'm just going to assume that anyone listening to this has already read the comic, so there's going to be spoilers throughout this commentary. So this is basically how I like to begin most of my space elf comics. Usually just one of my characters out in space looking down at a planet. Just getting ready to go down there. And I'm looking at the big files right now so I can zoom in so you guys can see these tiny details I did. So here we are at full size, and there's the planet with tiny little city lights. It's kind of hard to see with the small version, so that's how it looks up close. These are like little gimpy satellites, but you know, once this is shrunk down, you really can't make out how undetailed it is. I kind of like that first panel. It was a good way to start. Start with a page that you like. So here's page 2. So something that I like to do is just to utilize like jump cuts for whenever one of my space elves teleports. But something that I kind of wanted to start incorporating is some kind of transition to let you know that they've teleported. So on this page you can still see the space background from the first page. See, there's the space. And there it is on the second page. So it's sort of like a transition. It's something I'm still trying to figure out. And someone reading this who was unfamiliar with my space elves just asked, just through this comic, well, what's happening? Like, how do they just appear somewhere? And then I had to explain, oh, they're teleporting. They didn't quite get it, and they suggested that I do like some kind of sparkle effect or something, which isn't a bad idea, but that's not really my style. So I decided just to keep it simple, and it's a little jarring, and you know, either you dig it or you don't. I kind of dig it, so. But it is something that I am playing around with, so it's always good to be open to some kind of suggestion. I kind of like this page. I think it's just because it came together almost completely how I wanted to. So on the previous page, Tara was just enjoying the planet, just the very first time she's come down. So she's enjoying the sand and such. And then she noticed someone off in the distance. She can't really make her out yet. And then suddenly, a little bit of a breeze starts blowing. Wind starts picking up and more sand is coming at her, and then BAM! She's getting grabbed by the face. And you'll notice that this motif continues throughout the comic, and I'll point that out to you as we go along. And another thing that people always ask me is, how do you pronounce your characters' names? And it's actually something that I don't really care about. I mean, you can say their names however you want. I really don't care. But if you want to know how I say them, I say Chara. Technically, it probably is pronounced Kara because it's Greek for joy, but I like saying Chara. And Ireless is just Ireless. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it for real. Transition page. Chara's just been grabbed, and it's really just a transition page. Not much to say about that one. And here we have the title. For this comic, I wanted to try something different. Usually I just start off with the cover and then page 1, 2, 3, 4. This time I decided to do pages 1, 2, 3, 4 and then have the title cover. Kind of like a title card in a movie. It was fun, and I kind of like the effect, so it's probably something I'll continue to do. I also really like how the dome city turned out on this cover. So. Oh, something I considered doing was having like Ireless carrying Chara into the city for this cover, but I thought, that'd be kind of creepy. And it's not really something she would do. I mean, Ireless really just grabbed Chara and teleported her into the box. So let's get going there. So here we are at the box. Ireless was nice enough to grab Chara's shoe, I guess. So she's waking up, and there's Ireless. This is before I really figured out how I wanted to draw Ireless's hood, so it looks a little strange to me here. I usually, as I continue drawing this, I started drawing her hood more down, so it sort of drapes about her shoulders a little more, so you'll see that develop. And here we are, the very first dialogue of the comic. Not being very nice right now to each other, but that'll change. Something about the box that I probably spent a little too much time on is just trying to figure out what kind of sound effect I wanted to do when Char was trying to get out. So I settled with a and I wanted that to sound like the machine is continually charging and then just drawing back in her power. So on this page, it's see the vrr is like the machine just sort of drawing it in, and then the poof is where it starts really sucking it out of her. So it sort of charges up and then draws it out, charges it up and then draws it out. And here the machine countered very quickly, so Char is pretty surprised about it. So now Char is freaking out. What are you? And there you go. Ireless is one of her kind. The dead giveaway is the eyes. She has white pupils. Ireless is she's very straight to the point, just people laughing at this line here, just no, I'm not gonna let you out. So then Char starts to panic. She's never been trapped before, and being able to be trapped is just something completely foreign to her and to any Eternal, really. These guys are like incredibly difficult to catch, so the fact that Ireless figured it out is pretty incredible. So there's the machine charging up again. Right now it's just it's already sensing that Char is just starting to charge up and she really wants to break out of here, so the machine sound effects start out kind of quietly and then they start getting bigger and bigger as she starts to blow up about it. This page took a long time to do. Any kind of action for me always takes a long time to do. And this really isn't that much action, so. But it was fun in the end, you know. I really had fun with this hand panel. And with this panel too. A lot of Char's expressions are fun for me to do because she really moves her face a lot. It gives me a lot of dimensions to explore. So here Char is just trying to figure this out, and I kind of like how the force field looks right here. It's nice and simple. Probably should have utilized that more often than I did. Oh, and when Char starts swearing, that's when you know things are serious, because Char is really not one to start swearing. I think Ireless came down just because she's been annoyed at all the noise that Char has been making. It's been 3 days. When will you give up? You're keeping me awake, or something like that. One of my favorite gestures for Char is just this pointed finger. She does this a few times in this comic and in her origin comic, Chara, from Tales from Aaron's Wings. Yeah, she's been having a real tough few days here. She's not only emotionally drained, but also just physically drained as well from trying to get out. But, you know, at least Ireless seems to be listening here. One of the tricky things about Ireless was that her expressions are often really, really subtle. So, you really gotta pay attention to her body language, which is also really subtle, so she's just kind of standing here really still, just listening. I really like this panel. You should actually probably be, you should be able to see her hair swoop here, but I liked this pattern so much that I decided to omit her little hair swoop. So I do that a few times in this comic. It's just like, I don't want to draw her hair. I like the hood pattern, so it'll disappear and reappear at whim, really. And this time Char is listening. She's starting to figure out Ireless pretty early on if you really dig into my drawings here. At first, she's just kind of abrupt with Ireless, It's just, she just wants out. But here, when she says promises don't mean anything, that's when she really starts to listen. Still not completely happy with this panel. I think I probably should have spaced it out a little bit more, but it gets the mood across well enough, I guess. Not too much to say about this page, except that this is the first time that you're going to see any kind of hint of regret from Irelis. She's starting to see that maybe she's made a mistake, that maybe Chara really isn't like herself, or her parents for that matter. Oh, and you'll notice a few pages ago when Chara says, "I'm not like that, you can't leave me in here." See, that's the first hint right here that Chara knows that what Irelis is talking about, because it's kind of touched on throughout the comic, but Chara has seen several cases of an Eternal just turning bad, and she's seen what can happen. So there's the first hint. I'm not like that. She's not one to just lose control and destroy things. But Irelis will figure out fairly quickly that Chara is honest. One of my favorite things to draw is this little tendon right here, and just to show off my gross anatomy knowledge, it's the tendon to the palmaris longus muscle. So I'm smart. This is a page that I added in like last minute. For a lot of my comics, there's quite a bit of ad-libbing going on just throughout the process. I do write scripts and such, but as I go along, I add things in and I take things out, and even just like the night before I post a page, I'll just take the time and just think, you know what, I need another page here. So that's what this one was. I think this was like a night before I was going to post the next page. It was like, you know what, I need a break from this page to this page. This page is actually just like a tee-hee moment for myself. This planet that Chara is imagining or casting an illusion of is Dwal. It's from Grey Eyes, another comic that I'm working on. So, a lot of my comics cross over a lot. Just to save myself some time and a headache, I will often copy and paste what I can. So this panel here, I drew out completely, and then on this panel I just drew this hand, and then I just copy and pasted that and just spliced them together just to save myself just a little bit of extra time. So I cheated. Here's where we finally get to see Irelis make some kind of facial expression that isn't just some kind of stoic mug. But at least at this point, Chara started to relax a little bit, and she's starting to figure out how to talk to Irelis to let her out. And Irelis is actually making an attempt to make this pleasant for her prisoner. Because, Irelis is just going to soften and let her out. Irelis is much nicer than she lets on. Thereabouts is just a word that I like a lot, so I wanted to fit it in here somewhere, and there it is, thereabouts. I really like how this panel came out too. It's just a nice, weighty kind of image. Something that I would like to incorporate more of my comics are panels like these, where a character is talking off screen and then you just see the reaction from another character as they talk. Here's the first mention of Irelis's family. It's not something she's going to talk about. She doesn't talk about it pretty much at all in this comic. It's something that Char and Irelis will talk about further down the road in their relationship. And while I'm talking about her parents, one of the questions I got from Rachel Illustrates is, well, are Irelis's parents still alive? And answer, yes they are. Will she ever see them again, deal with them, and talk to them about what they did to her? That is a little bit more open-ended. While Irelis's parents are still alive, the odds of Irelis bumping into them again is pretty remote, and even if she did, Irelis would probably just leave. She has no interest in pursuing them ever again. So here, Char is trying to just convince her to let her out. She's been going crazy in this box for days and days. And while she's been in this box, she has been thinking about what could possibly be motivating Irelis. So, I mean, Char may seem like just kind of this happy-go-lucky social butterfly, but she's got a brain, and she knows quite a lot, and she just doesn't like to let other people know about it. Here's a couple more panels that I just saved myself a headache. Copy, paste. Really slight shifting of expression and moving this arm just a little bit down. It's a quick, easy way to just save yourself a little bit of time, and I really encourage people to do this, especially if you're working alone like I am. I mean, why make yourself work harder than you have to? There's that again. Char wants to promise, and Irelis just really doesn't want to trust her promises. And if you've read this before, and I'm assuming you have, you know why. She made a promise that she couldn't keep. So when Char says, "I promise" again, you see that Irelis really isn't amused by that. So she wants to test to see if Char is really telling the truth, and she is. She doesn't run away. Another gesture that's fun for me is hands on the hips for Char. She likes to take that pose quite often. And here Irelis is starting to realize, uh-oh, I might have made a mistake. She might have blocked up Char for no reason. Now this is a transition that I drew both panels separately, because a copy-paste situation wouldn't work here. And yeah, this was another quick teleportation scene. Just they're both in Irelis's house at this point, and then bam, they're on the desert. Not too much to say about this page, except they're exchanging names. Something you'll also notice about Char is that she has a hard time sitting still anywhere. So once they teleport from this area, she's squatting down and getting some exercise. And here she is just wiggling around. Get up close and see. So flipping around. Another motif that you'll see throughout the comic is that whenever whenever you can see both of her eyes, it's usually when she starts telling something about herself, and you can see her whole face, or you know, the whole of who she is, or at least most of it. So here's like the first mention of the oasis and what happened, and you can see her other eye. Kind of like this panel. I think I spent the least amount of time on this panel of this page, and I think I like it the most. And there you can see her other eye again. I like to do visual themes like that throughout my comics. It helps tell the story. I spent a long time on this panel too. I don't really know why. I just liked the idea of Iris looking out over the desert that she created, and it's sort of kind of a melancholy kind of pose. And her saying, "Oh, I haven't been here that long, just thousands of years." It's still a long time, even for an Eternal. I kind of like this panel too, because I imagine Chara saying it with some kind of a chuckle, like, "Then how did you see it? Is there a record?" Or it's it's kind of a mannerism that I do. And there's Iris shrugging. She does this a few times in the comic. She'll just shrug instead of answering. Another kind of panel that I like to do is this just random divides. This is actually just one drawing that I drew, and then I added in this panel break. It's an interesting sort of device to use, and I like playing with it every now and then. Here's another moment where I utilized copy and paste. Just drew one, copied it, colored it. There you go. This comes back several times in the comic. I like being naive. I could be wise if I wanted to be, but it's a terrible burden to be wise, don't you think? It really is. So Chara chooses to be ignorant. She chooses to be naive. She really isn't, but that's how she chooses to behave. So you may think she's being pretty ignorant here, just wanting to be friends with her captor, but she's really not. She knows what she's doing. She wants to find out what makes Iris tick and why she's behaving this way. And here we can find out that Iris is starting to soften. She's attempting to make a joke. It didn't work. So here we are. We finally get to the city. Iris is just showing her around. A good way just to start bonding with Iris was to just start ask questions and ask her to show her around this place that she's supposedly protecting. I was pretty happy that someone noticed this kissing couple in here. Whenever I can sneak something in the background just for fun, I'll do it, and I always get a kick out of it when someone notices it. It doesn't mean anything, I just wanted to shove something in there. This is a page where I recruited my sister to help me out. I really didn't want to draw a crowd on this page, or at least not most of it. I drew this guy, this girl, and their baby, and that's all I drew for the background people on this page. I recruited my sister to draw these other background figures. I really love what she did, but after this page she refused to do any more crowd drawings for me. She's retired. It was just too much work. But whenever I can, I'll ask my sister for advice or a little bit of help, because for the most part I do these comics all myself. So with all these background characters, I think it's a good time to answer one of the questions from Millard Peacecraft. Were there any characters that you had in mind but just couldn't implement in your comic? And the answer is no. For this comic, I had a pretty clear idea of what I wanted to do, and I really just wanted to stay focused on Iris, Chara, a little bit of Mecha, and that was basically it. You never see Iris's parents, they're only mentioned, and very briefly. But they're quite present in another way, in that it's their fault that Iris is the way she is, at least mostly. For a lot of my comics, they're usually fairly well planned out, and I can usually fit in almost everything, characters or plot points or whatever, pretty easily as I intend them to be. Have a plan. I like this panel. I like this guy. He's like an albino or something. I don't know. I just like how he looks. And I kind of like this kid grabbing after his mom. This is why I couldn't live in a city, just these crowds of people. Ugh. I couldn't deal with it. And here's the second part of this motif that I mentioned earlier. You'll notice on that one of the first pages, it's very similar to this, with Iris grabbing Chara by her head, but this time she's grabbing her by her arm. It's not nearly as forceful. And every now and then, you'll notice that I don't draw Chara's ears. I'll just drape her hair over it, because honestly it gets annoying drawing these ears all the time, especially when it has hair draped in front of the ear, because it takes longer to color that way. So every now and then you'll see me get fed up and you'll just have a bunch of hair over her ears, because I just don't want to deal with it. One of my favorite parts of this panel is just this guy right here, going head first into the other half of the crowd. But don't worry, Iris didn't. She made sure that no one actually got hurt. Yeah, just shoving people out of the way. And the reason why Iris just shoved people out of the way is because, in my mind, that as Char was being crowded by all these people, Iris started to panic a little bit. She was starting to think about what happened to Meika with all those other people that accidentally ended up killing her. So Iris starts to panic. She grabs Chara and she shoves everyone out of the way, and she starts getting Chara off to safety. She wasn't in any real danger, but that's how she reacted without even thinking about it. I like this kid down here. He's not afraid of them. He thinks it's funny, because, you know, kids, they're so innocent. See, I got fed up several times on this page. No ears, no ears. They're covered, but not really. I was just being lazy. And I'm pretty sure, at least in my mind, that right about here is where Chara more or less figured out what was going on with Iris. She's a sharp cookie. She knows what's going on. And right here is probably where she completely figured it out. She knows something bad happened to Iris a long time ago. So now she's going to be even more patient and make sure she's okay. And there it is again, copy-paste cheat. But you know, at least I do it a little bit better than from other people. Because I'll make these little minute changes and then I'll actually do the individual shading and such individually for each panel. So I just copy and paste the drawings, make subtle changes, and then do all the coloring for each panel themselves. The hat thing was just a quick little... It was almost like a joke between a friend of mine, Grimmy, Grim Rebet. I just call her Grimmy. And I thought, you know what, that's really cute. I'm going to shove it in the comic. And I shoved it in the comic. It became a plot point. So something that I really wanted to work on for this comic was just the backgrounds, because a lot of the times in my comics I just kind of skimp on backgrounds. It's a bad habit, so I really wanted to work in as many background characters and background things as much as possible. And whoop, you can see Iris's other eye now. There it is again. She's starting to open up. And if you're not familiar with my other Eternals, the way their powers work are basically if they see something being done, they can figure out how it works, and then they can just reproduce the effect. They're basically like sponges, so don't show them anything and you'll be fine. There it is again, that little shrug where she doesn't want to answer directly, so she'll just shrug. So Chara is really impressed with Iris at this point because she figured out how to trap another Eternal all on her own merit. She didn't borrow any kind of technology from anyone else. It's just something she tinkered with and figured out all by herself, which is kind of contrary to all of the other Eternals. So Iris is kind of weird when it comes to Abyss Walkers. And you'll notice that I keep changing names: Space Elf, Abyss Walker, Eternal. There's even witnesses or ancients. And the reason for that is because Eternals don't really know what to call themselves because they're all so spread out and there's so few of them. And that's one of the questions. This one was actually asked by my sister, Zemeta Online. That's how she's known. What's the origin of the space elves? Eternals, Abyss Walkers, Ancients, Witnesses, etc. I like calling them space elves because it's funny. I like making fun of my own stuff whenever I can. Was there once a planet empire, giant space elf civilization, or have they always been rare nomads? And that's kind of a difficult question to answer because the Eternals themselves don't really know. At some point there must have been some sort of source for them, but when they did have their own planet, it probably went bad really quickly because having such nearly omnipotent creatures all in one place just isn't a good thing to happen. So odds are that they destroyed themselves before they could even get going. So whoever's left is just wandering the great void of space, and that's who they are now. Just rare nomads. This was a fun scene to do because Chara, always so expressive, and then she's getting Ireless to finally move her face a little bit. And Chara, she's really daring. She's actually touching Ireless. She's only done that once before so far. So it's pretty amazing that Ireless isn't just shoving her away at this point, and even more amazing that she's actually willing to listen to what Chara wants to do. Yep, she's trying to make a joke again. This time it worked out a little bit better. And there's that teleporting thing again. Most of the time I'll just do just a really quick transition, just bam, background changes, and it should be understood that they've teleported. Another one of the questions I got from Mooney Mina was, were the clothes and hair changes throughout the story planned, or did they develop more organically as I did the comic? And the answer to that is, it was fairly well planned, but these things often take on a stronger life of their own as you keep going. And that's sort of what happened. I had planned to definitely have Ireless more or less stripped down as we proceeded through the story. And I wanted Char to have a few costume changes, but she ended up having a few more costume changes than I had originally planned to do. So here's these contest outfits that I had people do. I thought it'd be more fun than me just designing a bunch of outfits to do. So I threw a little bit of a contest, and I got a lot of entries, and they were all really, really beautiful and a lot of fun. But these are the three I decided to show because they fit Char's personality the best. Although that's kind of hard to pin down because Char's she's a bit all over the place, so she'll wear almost anything really. So here on the left we have the Mysterious Jay's dress, very pretty. It's almost like, it kind of makes me think of like a Spanish sort of dress. I really like the shoes too. I'd like those shoes. In the middle there's Harold Sheep. He's a cool guy. He's a professional animator actually, so I was a little starstruck that he actually wanted to participate in my comic contest. So it's like a little ballet outfit. It's really cute. I thought Char would love to spin in that, so that's why I chose that one. And I really like the necklace there too. And this one I chose because Chara is really weird. She'd love this kind of outfit. It's sort of like a fur. She could spin in it, and it's black isn't exactly her thing, but she will wear black, especially if it's a fun sort of dress like this. And I had a lot of fun with this one, and that one was designed by Pig23. And for it to be understood that she's just basically spontaneously changing her outfit, almost like a teleporting effect, I drew in these quick little shrug lines here. So she's shrugging her shoulders and she's changing her outfit all at the same time. And here's the grand prize winner, November Chris on DeviantArt. She designed this beautiful little dress, and I thought this one was the best for Chara. So that's the one I went with. Chara loves bracelets and things like this, and she loves sandals and such. And flowers is her thing for this comic. So, and it had a lot of beautiful flowers and little polka dots, and it had Chara written all over it, so that's why I chose it. In the original design that November Chris did, there was actually a crown of daisies, but flowers can be a pain to draw, especially over and over again, so I lessened it to do 2 flowers. And here we actually see Iris getting involved a little bit. She actually chooses this dress. It's bright and happy, which is very contrary to who she is, at least at this point. She's starting to see Chara as just this little bright spot, and she's starting to like it. She has a pretty good poker face, but you can, or at least I tried to incorporate little signs that she is actually very pleased right now. She kind of has this relaxed sort of eye, because she's just sort of appreciating how Chara looks right now, and her mouth isn't in a frown. It's a little difficult to see, but there's a tiny little bit of a smile there. The only reason why Iris likes this place is because they have nice food. But I think every now and then she just likes to be around people, just to feel part of something. And whoop, 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 whoop. This is important. She's taking down her hood. Plot point. Another plot point. Chara gives her a flower, and she actually keeps it. This is the first time that we get to see Iris start to take down her defenses just a little bit more. My favorite people in this background is this plumper woman. She's having a great time. And these people have been so accustomed to Iris being around that, oh look, there's another one. They don't really react to it. At least not outwardly. So there's Iris. Now she's just having a sort of a nice evening at this point. She's just watching Chara have a good time, and she's having a good time herself. This was another page that I added in, I think, the night before. So, like, you know what? I need another page from this page to this page, because there's a lot of panels on this page. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels, and then the next page has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels. So that's a that's a lot of information. So it was good to have just basically a 1-page illustration just to help break that up. It also helps drive the point home that Iris is enjoying having Chara around. And there it is again. You can see her other eye. I like this random girl I designed. Pretty much all of the characters in the background were designed on the spot. So those are always fun. Oh man, drawing this panel was a pain. Because, well, A, there's a lot of people around there, and B, I wanted to make sure that your eye goes straight to Chara. The way I wanted to help lend that focus was just by having Chara and Iris being the only ones properly colored in. But within such a big crowd, it was still difficult to help guide your eye straight to Chara here. So you'll notice I tried to help draw attention here in the background by having this little ray of light here for some reason. I just didn't want her to get lost in the crowd. I had this guy say we could call the constable because I didn't want it to sound too not alien. Words escape me at the moment. I didn't want to say just call the cops because that didn't sound quite right to me, so I opted for constable. Of course, you know, if I have anyone from anywhere that's not America, constable is not going to sound foreign at all, so a little bit self-defeating there, but settled for it anyway. And here we have another hint that Chara knows what's going on more than she lets on. She knows what's happening, and she knows she can handle herself at this point. I had a lot of fun with this page. Another thing that I want to work on as I continue to do comics is just playing with the panel arrangements like this, where parts just sort of leak out into other panels like that. It's a lot of fun. And you'll notice that Chara doesn't really have a dancing style. She just goes from one pose to the other. In a previous page, I don't know what she's doing here, just doing the booty tooch, I guess. But here she was attempting to do the twist or the mashed potato or something. She doesn't dance, she just moves to the music. Another question that was asked was, am I happy with the progress in my art and as well as in my life so far? And the answer is yes. Especially as we come to this page, yes, because I'm continuing to experiment and just explore my art style more and more. And in my life, yeah, pretty much the same thing. Just continuing to learn and grow, try new things, and I'm pretty happy with the progress I've made so far. This is probably the first comic that I've been completely happy with. I've been very happy with my previous comics, but I think this is the one that's going to age the best so far. And the best way to test something is with the test of time, so I think this one will stand the test of time better than the other works I've done. See now, when Chara appeared, no one really freaked out. They just thought, oh, there's another one. That's kind of weird. But now that Irelis has started to actively participate, or at least, you know, sort of, and actually touch her, that's when they start freaking out. Like, what's going on? This weirdo who's always been around is suddenly, like, being open with someone? That's strange. People in the background, you can see, are just sort of starting to talk about it. It's like, what's going on? What's going on with this weirdo? This was a lot of fun for me to draw here too. Any kind of interaction is fun for me to do. So here Chara says you even use your powers around spectators, and it's kind of funny because just a few pages ago when Chara was changing outfits repeatedly, she was outside in front of people. So she's being a bit of a hypocrite here. See, she's outside and she just starts changing outfits, and there are people around. You just I didn't draw them because I wanted the focus to be on these guys. But there are people around, and other people can see her changing outfits spontaneously, so Irelis using her powers around other people really isn't that big a deal. At least not on this planet, because they're used to it. So Tempest and Kian here get to make a brief appearance. Chara's telling Irelis about her previous experiences, opening up more and more. So another question that I had was from Shippuden23. Will Irelis run into other Eternals, like Kian, Mercutio, and Tempest? And answer is yes, actually. A really short comic, or at least just a one-page or two-page sort of thing that I just want to do for fun, is where what would happen if Chara and Irelis had met Kian and Mercutio, who is not pictured here. And that's something that I'd like to do fairly soon, but we'll see how that goes. Whether or not Irelis would meet Tempest is another thing. I would actually lean towards not, at least not very soon. Tempest is, he's pretty reclusive. Even, almost more so than Kian. Just in a different way. Tempest goes down and does more things than Kian does, but, Tempest is pretty closed off in his own way. And here's another important thing. Irelis is wondering if Chara approves of what she does. And she says, well, you're not hurting anyone. And while that's true, Irelis knows that in the past that wasn't true. Chara probably knows too, but Irelis doesn't know that she knows. So Now Iris is starting to shut down a little bit again because Chara is, she pretty much trusts her at this point, and Iris doesn't think she should. There's that little pose Chara likes to take again, pointing her finger. Oh, and I kind of like this first panel because it's like, oh, darn, so close to getting Iris to open up to me. But shut down again. I like this panel. She turned out real cute here, I think. In my script, I actually had Iris just saying "what" in response to "and I like you," but I thought just this incredulous stare would be better suited to the moment than her just saying "what," because almost as I go through my comics, just as I draw them, I take out more than I put in. So there's quite a bit of dialogue that I just I throw out as I go through drawing my comics. I actually have an example of a page of my script here, if you want to check it out. I've started handwriting my scripts. I think I work better that way. And you'll see they're actually pretty bare. It's almost completely dialogue, and I let the story develop more or less organically as I draw it. The scenes sort of pace themselves. As I move through the scene, I think I'm going to take more time with this scene, or you know what, this scene really doesn't have to last more than a couple pages, and I think that's worked to my benefit. And you can see just I really don't add in that much. See, I take out more than I put in, but there's a little bit of dialogue that I added in. Just I think in total, what I added in throughout the comic is probably no more than 10 pages or so. Maybe even just like 5 or so. Now Iris is starting to get frustrated. She's starting to realize that Chara is going to be around for a little bit longer than she anticipated, and there's that finger point again. But she's not frustrated because Chara won't leave. She's beginning to be frustrated because she's starting to see that she's going to have to tell Chara the truth. That Chara wants to know the truth. Something else that I've been working on is having characters express themselves without you being able to see their face. So you'll notice a few times in this comic that I had the focus just being on their hand or something, or just a few pages ago, the back of her head. You can't see her face, but with the use of space and the fact that she's slouched forward a little bit, when she says, "You can go," she's almost remorseful. At least I hope that translates. And here it's definitely frustration. She doesn't want to tell Chara about the things she's done. And here's my mega cheating. This is all copy and pasted with very minor changes. So I think, if I remember correctly, this is the one that I drew, and then I just copy and pasted it twice, and then I just made these minor changes, mainly around the mouth. I probably shouldn't tell people how much I cheat, but I do. For this page, I really wanted to show off Iris's house a little bit, and you'll notice that a lot of her house is extremely bare. There are no pictures. There's just a table, her bedroom, and the room in which she kept Chara. There's a big window, though. She likes to look out every now and then. It kind of tells you about Iris. She's stuck here, but she does want to leave, at least unconsciously. Something else that I like to do a little bit, but I really try not to abuse too much, are these dramatic pauses. So, is it okay if I stay? And then she takes a good long while to think about it, and she tells her yes. But I really try not to abuse those pauses because it can get tiring really quickly. I had to edit this panel a lot. There's just a lot about her expression that just wasn't coming together. So, especially about the eyes, but I think what I settled on works fairly well. And there she is, changing her clothes again, just a blink and she's in her pajamas. And you'll notice that Chara isn't wearing any makeup at this point anymore. I had thought about making Chara's pajamas like a cute little sexy kind of nightie or something, but that wasn't Chara's style. So I opted for these 90s rainbow pajamas. The rainbow was my sister's idea, if I remember correctly. I was trying to decide what I should put on as a pattern for her t-shirt, and she just said, make it a rainbow, so that's what I did. Oh man, you can see how lazy I was on this page. For Chara's ears, just boop, little tip, little tip, little tip, and then no ears. No ears. But I do actually like this page a lot. Poor Chara, she just really wanted to snuggle. She's a snuggler. But Iris just wasn't quite ready. But you can see her other side of her face again. So she's definitely opening up. It's a lot of fun when I get to draw panels like this, where the character is just in some sort of unordinary pose, just stretching out. It was fun. This panel gets a bit of a reprise later on, after they're intimate with each other. It's almost the same panel. I actually redrew it though. I didn't get that lazy. And Iris is being nice again. She made her a nice drink for Chara to wake up to. But now we're going to get into serious plot stuff. There's a lot of dialogue on this page, actually. And there's that ominous shrug again. Chara's asking questions about the oasis, and Iris really doesn't want to answer. But she does want to go there again. She has a lot of good memories about the oasis, but a lot of bad ones too, so most often she just doesn't go there, even though she loves it a lot. Oh, Chara, you're not going to have fun. Dare to dream. So, something that you'll notice about the monks here, a lot of them are women, for one, but number two, they wear hoods like Iris does. So, a lot of their religion, I don't go into this because it's something that's a little frivolous and it would just take a lot of time to go into, and ultimately wouldn't add a lot to the plot. So I just really minimized it with just the visuals. So we can see immediately that they dress almost exactly like Iris does, and they respect her, and they acknowledge her existence, unlike everyone else on the planet. Everyone else just ignores her, and she likes it that way. But she appreciates that these people actually acknowledge her because they live here at the oasis where Meika lived. So, although the religion isn't actually based solely upon Iris, they may see her as some kind of saint or some sort of savior, actually, but she's definitely not their deity or anything like that. She's just some sort of guardian spirit, perhaps. So Chara gets to wear a little bit of her favorite color here. She mentioned earlier in the comic that her favorite color is blue, so I wanted to work in some blue here. Aside from just the desert itself, she gets to wear blue fingernail polish. There was originally more to this panel. I think it was more of her face off to this side. It's on my Tumblr, actually. I have a lot of works in progress on my Tumblr if you want to check it out. But I decided that it was better left if you could only see so much of her face right now. She's opening up, and she's about to open up as much as she can. But right now she's still just a little bit closed off, and she doesn't want Chara to see her this way. But at the same time, she does, because she agreed to come here. And something that I decided almost immediately was that I would not show Iris's parents, and I wouldn't talk about them. Because you know what they did, you know it was bad, and you know that it affected Iris's life negatively for the rest of her life, forever. And she'll never completely recover from it. She's gotten better through time, just from being stuck in this one place. She's had a lot of time to think about it, but she'll never be completely better, I think. Chara will help her a lot, but she'll still always have those negative feelings. Chara asks just a couple questions. Was it bad? Did they hurt you? Iris doesn't answer, but she doesn't need to. Something that I was a little bit nervous about was Iris's her outfit for this flashback, because if you know me, I'm a fan of Star Trek, and I had inadvertently designed this jumpsuit thing to look a little bit like a Star Trek uniform. It was completely by accident, but as I was coloring these pages, I realized how much it looks like a Star Trek uniform. So I added in this little bar of white just to help break it up a little bit, and although I still think it looks a little bit too much like a Star Trek uniform, I think I got away with it. No one's mentioned it so far, at least. So now we finally get to see the planet as it was before Iris came there. It was completely green. Quite a stark difference. Chara says very little in these few pages. It's Iris's turn to talk, and it's Chara's turn to listen. And here we finally get to see Meika. I don't think she actually speaks in this comic at all. I don't think I gave her any dialogue. She doesn't need to speak. You can tell just through body language and expression how much she meant to Iris. But if you want to know a little bit about Meika, she's really down to earth. She's really homey and really easy to hang out with, and that's probably why Iris loved her so much. She was just this calming force in her life. And this is another motif that's repeated once more in the comic. Someone is handing Iris a gift, and she looks so surprised and so shocked that someone would give her something without expecting anything in return. For an Eternal to compare someone to the stars is a really big compliment. Space is where all Eternals return, and it's where they go all the time. It's their home. And the stars are always there with them. If Eternals have anything that's close to a deity, it's the stars. And to be compared to them is just incredible. Now, you all knew this was coming. Meika gets killed, and everything goes really bad. But there's a couple things on this page that are pretty important. We finally get to see Iris in some color. There's a tiny bit of a brownish beige, and she's wearing white. You never see her wear white before this, and you don't really see her wear it afterwards. You see it a little bit when Chara gives her that flower. And you'll also notice that she's wearing a little bit of makeup. She's starting to take care of her experience, her not her experience, her appearance. She started to take care of her appearance a little bit more. Meika really helped encourage her to start move on, and just move on with her life and start being happy. Because you'll notice before she had short hair, she didn't look very happy, and she was just wearing this bland gray, jumpsuit. A tiny bit of white there, I misspoke earlier. But she doesn't look very good. It's just this boyish haircut, which isn't bad, but it's not really eyeless. She doesn't know who she is at this point, or at that point. But as she became closer to Meika, she started to explore who she was, and she started to become happy. It's another thing that I like to do is just with costume changes and hair changes and makeup changes. As a person changes, they'll change their appearance, and that's something I really play up in my comics. So here I like to think that Iris was just reassuring Meika that no, we don't have to leave. I'll protect you. Nothing bad is going to happen. Everything's going to be fine. And then for whatever reason, Iris was away for probably no more than just maybe a day, half a day. But when she came back, everything was destroyed. And the worst part of it for her was that she just wasn't there. And she didn't feel that anything was wrong. She just came back, and everything that she had finally grown to care about was gone. And now she is extremely angry, and she loses control. And just to be a little morbid, I actually had a lot of fun drawing these pages. Because most of the time I draw couples and things being happy, and I like things to be happy because drawing things that are just sad and morbid all the time, it's just, it doesn't really appeal to me. But every now and then I like to cut loose and draw things that are just kind of gruesome, and this was this was a great release for me. So Iris is causing everyone just to spontaneously start to hemorrhage and vomit and just to be in extreme pain. And she's not really doing it in any sort of specific way. She's just letting her powers do what they want. She's completely lost control. Another thing that I just sort of snuck in here for my own amusement is that whoever was feuding was these guys in green and these guys in orangey yellow. And as Iris destroys them both, these two guys, whoever they are, they support each other in this common massacre. So I kind of allude here that by Iris destroying both sides, that she ends the feud, and that the two sides would find peace through this common sort of enemy. But it's really just in there for my own amusement. So, although they had been feuding, they won't be anymore. And I like this transition here too. We see Iris gathering up her power. This the green that it was all around on this planet. She draws up the green, and then, bam! A single clench of her fist turns into this blue sand. You see the green kind of fade away here. And we get to see from outer space shot all the green sort of receding here into the oasis. Right now it's still fairly large, but it's happening really quickly how much the Earth is changing. And you see this flower that that Meika had given Iris a little bit earlier, or at least the same kind of flower. As the blue sort of takes over, the little flower is going to turn into dust soon too, because she's lost everything. And something that I wanted to explore in this comic was something about regret. She doesn't really regret what she did, at least not right away. Later on she will, but right afterwards she didn't feel sorry about it, and I think that's true for a lot of people. they do bad things and they don't feel sorry about it until a long time later. So now she's told Chara pretty much everything about her. She was abused. She's committed pretty much genocide, and she's fully expecting Chara just to leave her at this point, and she actually doesn't. And the reason why Chara doesn't leave is because as Iris continues to tell her story, Iris could have just left. She could have left these people to die with the rest of the planet, but she didn't. She stayed and she tried to fix everything that she did. It was a lot of fun for me to draw these little plans here. It's just nonsensical alien language. It's just a bunch of scribbles. It doesn't mean anything, but it was fun for me to draw little designs for these little spaceships and such. Some sort of part for a spaceship, perhaps. Something that, although Chara will definitely help Iris explore, is the concept of forgiveness. I don't think Iris will ever be able to completely forgive herself or what happened to the planet and to Mecha, but maybe at some point she'll be able to be at peace with it. She's getting there, but forgiveness, I don't know if she'll be capable of that, at least not completely. Something that I personally like is just how old trees can be and how good they can look, even thousands of years later. So that's why there's this tree theme. This tree is actually really darn old if you've been paying attention. Iris has been here for thousands of years, and the tree was planted by Mecha and her grandfather even years before that. So this tree is easily pushing like 5,000 years or so, and it still looks good. And it's still bearing fruit. I really like this panel too because we finally get to see a panel of some sort of distaste in Chara. Most of the time she's either happy or making some kind of funny face. She'll sometimes look concerned, like here, but you'll very rarely see her angry or disgruntled about something. So here we finally get to see her she's a little fed up with Iris playing this pity party. She understands, but at the same time, some people do need like a little slap in the face to snap them out of it. And that's what she did. She did a little bit of an emotional slap to Iris just to get her to start moving again. And something else that I wanted to make sure that I made really clear is that Chara completely acknowledges what happened. She knows that Iris did really horrible things, and she even says that she may not be able to redeem herself, and she may be forever tormented by these terrible things that happened to her. But she also goes on to say that you can move on from them. So here's one of my money pages. I spent probably too much time on this page. I can't even remember how long I spent on this page, but probably at least 3 hours or so, and especially on this panel. These first two panels were pretty fast, but then I really wanted to drive this point home because it's something that I really feel is important. There's already so much hate and sadness in every world. You don't have to be a part of it anymore, and you really don't. Something that when I was younger, with just watching the news and all these bad things happening all the time, it was pretty terrible. It's just at one point I decided, you know what, I'm not gonna engage in this anymore, and I haven't really ever since. It's important to acknowledge that these bad things are happening, but you really can't let them get to you, and you have to know when to just cut yourself off from it for a while, if not indefinitely, so that you can lead some sort of stress-free life. Don't get stuck. That's Chara's philosophy. don't get stuck and move on. It's really important to know when to move on. Iris got stuck. So Iris really needs someone like Chara in her life to help her move on. And with the hair theme that I've been pointing out throughout this comic, we see that Chara, she moves the hair out of Iris's face. And on the surface, that's just a nice thing to do, just out of some sort of affection. But in this case, it actually means a lot more than just that face value. It means that Chara sees all of who Iris is, and she doesn't care. Or, she cares, but she acknowledges all of who she is, and she loves her anyway. But that's another thing. You'll notice that neither of them say "I love you" in this comic. They do, and they will say it eventually, but it's too soon for that. And Iris, she takes it at face value. This little hair move. She thinks it's just a nice show of affection. And it is. Chara may not realize how much it means either, because, you know, I wrote it. So Iris decides to play the game. She decides to start finally moving on, just through this little gesture. She pulls Chara's hair in front of her face, just as some sort of little show of affection or game. And you'll see here, she's still a little nervous and unsure, but she's willing to at least make the attempt to move on at this point. Something that was prompted to me from my friend Grimmy was that she had written a little bit of a fan fiction for me. I was feeling really down one day and she wrote a little fan fiction for me to help me feel better. And she likened Chara to the sun and Iris to the night. And I thought that was a really beautiful piece of imagery. So a few times in this comic you'll see Chara framed with the sun, because that's what she represents to Iris. And a few times you'll see that I use warmer tones in her hair to help bring out that warmth. And there you go. They finally kiss. There's another money shot. I didn't spend quite as much time on this panel, but spent more time than usual on it with all these little extra details and such. Something that I wanted to address but not go too deeply into because it would just take too much time was that how Iris had locked Chara up for a while. If Iris ever tried something like that ever again, Chara would be out of there really fast. Again, Chara may seem really ignorant and even foolish or stupid, but she's not. She knows what's going on. She's fairly confident at this point that Iris wouldn't do anything like that ever again. But if she did, she would leave. This isn't going to be some sort of creepy relationship. That's not my motif. That's not my MO. It's not something I would do. And another thing I wanted to acknowledge here is that Iris is saying this is a mistake. And Chara agrees it might be a mistake, but she wants to go through with it anyway. Because something that you just have to do is just go for it. Just try something. It may not work out, but the experience itself is what makes it worth it. Poor Iris, she really just, she has a difficult time connecting with anyone. And here Chara is offering herself up on a silver platter, basically, and she just can't get into it. Something that I had planned, actually, that I decided to throw out was with this line here. I'm not easy to be with, Chara, even before. I had considered putting in a panel with a sort of one-panel flashback with Meika comforting Iris at some point before she had passed away. But I thought that that would derail the story just a little too much, because Although Iris still loves Meika, and she probably always will, at this point she has more or less moved on from Meika. Meika's memory isn't going to stop her from engaging with Chara, and I didn't want to have Meika in here at this point to confuse anyone. Because Meika's gone. Iris knows that, and she can't ever have her back. So she's almost ready to move on. And now she is ready to move on. And here's what I mentioned earlier. There are warmer tones in Chara's hair here as compared to right here, actually. I decided not to use warmer tones here because I wanted the focus to be on Iris's eyes. I put more reflection here because I wanted to look like she was almost ready to start crying again. And something that develops around here in the comic is how much Iris likes to touch Chara's hair. See, there it is again. And right now they're just following impulses, really. They're definitely digging each other, but it's nothing too deep, at least not yet. So there it is again. She's touching Chara's hair. She really likes her silky looking hair. There she is again, touching her hair. And this is something that, again, was prompted to me from one of my friends online. It was Grimmy again. I forget exactly how it came about, but she had prompted a few bits of dialogue for this scene, and it was so charming that I wanted to work it in somehow, and I managed to work it in. And here's the original comic before I even started the comic itself that I did, just to scribble out this scene because it was so cute. So you'll notice that they were pretty different to begin with. I actually kind of like this scribbly comic better than what I ended up with in the final comic. It's probably just because it was done more quickly and just for fun than for any complete purpose. Especially her smile here. I think it turned out a little bit better in this scribble than it did in the final comic, but this one's creepy enough. I had considered after this page just having them jump into pajamas or something like that, but that felt a little contrived to me. I thought, you know what, why not do the scene nude? Because in other comics, in movies and such, whenever a pair of people have been intimate with each other and then all of a sudden they're awkwardly wearing their underwear or they're awkwardly under the covers or something, it just feels so strange to me. So I decided just to bite the bullet and go for nude for this scene because they're comfortable with each other right now. And it wouldn't be right to have them be clothed all of a sudden. That would convey some sort of unease between the two, and I didn't want that. They're being honest with each other. Yep, there's that panel again. Hi! Except this time it's actually a mutual good morning. Iris is actually smiling. Not a big smile, because she can't smile big. And you'll notice in these scenes that Iris's face is pretty much uncovered again. It's uncovered. And here it's still uncovered, but as things begin to unravel again, her hair starts to get in her face again. And she turns away. Oh, and Chara isn't wearing her makeup again. So something that I think is important is that Chara is willing to work at this relationship. Irelis told her that she's not easy to be with, and she reminds her just the previous page that she's not easy to be with, and Chara is she's completely willing to work on it. She doesn't mind that Irelis would be a difficult person to be with. There it is again, she's touching Chara's hair. And there's the third time for this motif, but this time Chara is the one that is grabbing Irelis. Before, Irelis had been the one grabbing Chara by the face and then by the hand, but now this time Chara is the one who doesn't want Irelis to leave. I really like this panel. I think it's just because I don't get to draw this sort of expression for Chara too often. She's almost panicked. And at some point, Chara realizes that Irelis isn't going to be bargained with. And out of just respect, she's going to honor Irelis' wishes, and she's going to leave. And it's happened a few times in the comic that Irelis just inadvertently makes Chara cry, and it really breaks Irelis' heart. She doesn't mean to be this way. She just sort of is. Montage page. Montages are fun and not fun to do. You get to draw a bunch of different things all at once, but then you have all this just wildly different things on the page, and you have to do so many different things, and it takes forever. This page probably took, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours to complete. And that's just from the coloring standpoint. For drawing, it probably took another couple hours. And here you can see the people just starting to freak out again. She's just like, what? The weirdo is like being sort of happy. It's strange. So on this last day, I really wanted it to come through that Irelis is making an effort to make this a more of a happy time. So she takes Chara dancing when before she had pretty much refused to dance with her. They hold hands, because I like holding hands. I think it's a sweet gesture. Chara gets to eat more of this world's food. They get to go out into space. And I'll talk more about this panel in a second. And here we see Chara eyeing the hat from before. So you know what's going to come pretty soon. And here I imagine that they just went back to Irelis' house for a moment, just to be alone for a little bit. And probably talking about things just a little bit more, and Chara just being completely understanding as she typically is, as Irelis is basically just pushing, or at least trying to push Chara out of her life. And there's that repeated sun theme with Chara again. For this panel, I think this is where Irelis unconsciously decides to leave with Chara at the end. We have not seen Irelis in space presently in this comic. We have her memory of exploring space before, but never in the present time has she been in space. So here, Chara's just having fun with the satellites and such. But Irelis is actually looking way out beyond Chara. If you don't take a moment to look at this panel, you may think that she's just not paying attention and she's just letting Chara have fun. But she's actually not. She's looking out beyond the planet. She's actually looking forward for once. And there she is, reaching into her interdimensional pocket, and she got the hat for Ireless because it was a sweet thing to do. And there's that theme again, just from once before. Chara is giving her something, and Ireless is just she's unbelieving that someone would give her something like that. Just as Meika had given her the flower. And it's something that I touched on throughout the comic, but in a pretty subtle ways. That Chara knows what's happened with other Eternals and such, but she never directly says it to Ireless. But here she finally tells her. She's seen it before. For these panels, you'll notice that what's left behind is usually some sort of discolored strangeness, and there are no people in any of these panels, except for this last one, which is Ireless's planet. There are no people, and all that's left are just some kind of ruins or what may have been left behind. And for whatever happened on this planet, it was bad. It was basically turned into a volcano. So that's a big reason why Chara is so willing to give Ireless a chance. Because Ireless actually decided to stay and try to put right what she had put wrong. One of the questions I had was, what will the World of Dust people think about Ireless leaving, since she's always just kind of been there? That's a good question, and they're probably going to, at first, they're probably not going to notice, because Ireless left without telling anyone. She definitely dismantled the room that she had made to keep Chara in, and then she may have even just gotten rid of her house. And then after that, she just left without a word, and she went after Chara. So probably at first, people aren't going to notice that Ireless is gone because she's been in the background for so long. But eventually, someone will notice, and then they'll just be like, "Huh, where'd she go?" And then maybe even as the people continue to advance, they might form some kind of expedition to search for her, or at least someone like her, because they know that alien life exists, and it's basically thanks to her. So, to answer the question more directly, is that it would affect the people, but not in a drastic way at all, because for so long she's just been in the background. And deep down, Ireless really is a good person. She's just troubled, and she needs someone to help her through becoming a better person and being more open with herself and everyone else. So for this page, for the majority, I wanted Chara to be unseen, except for down here. I wanted the focus to be on Ireless, like she's saying goodbye, and it's not easy for her. And here's that transition that I did at the beginning again with the space background, so it's understood that she has teleported away and she's leaving pretty quickly. So, and another thing about this page is that the wind starts blowing like the winds of change, and we get to see her face again, both sides. And it's all under Meika's tree, so it's almost like Meika is telling her to leave as well. Poor Chara, she cried like 3 times in this comic. It's not easy for her. And you'll notice that Chara is wearing black for this final scene. She was only wearing black once before, very briefly, just for the fashion show scene. Wearing black is serious business for Chara, because in some sense she's mourning, because she knows, or she's pretty sure that she's never going to see Iris again. This was another page that I added in pretty last minute, because I felt I needed, again, another break from this to this. We needed just a moment to reflect about everything that's happened. And if you've read my other comics, Tales from Aaron's Wings, with Tempest and all the people he's encountered, the one specifically with Chara, is that her mantra is basically just don't stagnate, keep moving forward. So she has to tell herself that this time. Most of the time, if not always, she moves on without a problem, because she doesn't exactly form attachments. She may become fond of the people that she may encounter in worlds that she explores, but she never becomes emotionally attached. But this time that happened, and it's really difficult for her to actually move on, and she has to tell herself to go. But luckily, Iris decides to go after her. And we finally get to see an almost non-strained smile from Iris. It's still a little awkward. She's working on it. And she's wearing the hat that Chara got her because she's trying new things, finally. And her hair is pushed back, and she's not wearing her big overcoat. She's more open than we've ever seen her before. And she kept the flower because she couldn't just throw it away. It's important to her now. And Chara is just amazed that Iris came after her. And another thing that's important is that Iris, she doesn't really know if she's ready to leave, but she knows it's time to move on. And that's something important to me as well, is that you may not be ready, but it's time to do something. And sometimes you need a little push to do that, and sometimes you don't. And in Iris's case, she needed a little bit of a push, and that's what Chara gave her. And for the first time, I think, we finally get to Iris requesting something from Chara. Something that Iris has difficulty with would be asking for something for herself. And Chara is, of course, only too glad to let her come. And she even encourages that Iris choose where they go. And you'll notice in these final pages that they don't say I love you, they don't kiss, and there's really not much other than a basic hug and just a brief expression of thank you for coming, thank you. Because they definitely love each other, but it's not the time for them to be saying things like I love you, and it's not the time for them to be kissing again. They're going to need to take some time to get to know each other all over again after what happened. They'll get there, though. So, this is another one of my favorite panels right here. We get to see both Iris and Chara looking off towards the future. Iris has been stuck for so long, and now she finally gets to move on. She's finally looking forward. And this is sort of like a bit of an homage to what happened earlier with one of the first pages, that after Iris had grabbed Chara. We had that transition page, and this time we have them both mutually holding each other and moving towards this big purple nebula that Chara had mentioned earlier. And that's the end of the comic. They're both looking at this new formation of a star. And we finally get to see Iris with this sort of wide-eyed look. She hasn't had this look before. And they get to look onto it together. Something else you'll notice is that Chara is more comfortable in space here. Iris is still a little bit more stiff, and you'll notice that on these previous pages too. She's a little stiff in space. She hasn't been in space in so long. She's not used to it anymore. So a few other questions I had before I wrap this up is one from Mooney Mina. Oh, excuse me. From Zenlord22. Have any Eternals met human beings before? And the answer is yes. Kian has met humans before, and he's visited Earth before. But it was alluded in a collaboration I did between myself and Grim Reapit that Earth was somehow destroyed at some point in time, or at least mostly destroyed. So, yeah, Chara and Irelis will not be meeting any humans because their storyline takes place after Eternals. But Kian has met humans, and he liked them for the most part, but Kian's kind of a bitter old man, so don't ask his opinion about anything, because he'll be cruel about it. Another question that I've had several times is that, is there going to be a sequel to A Woman of Dust? Answer, not really. This is their main story, and there's really not much more to be said about them. But I do have a few ideas about just really brief little mini comic things that I may do. And there's something for Chara that I want to do for sure, which will probably just be like 5 or 10 pages long. And there's another little short that I would like to attempt with Irelis and Chara meeting up with Kian and Mercutio, and that would probably be no more than a couple pages or so. See, I'd had a few more questions, and these are from Rachel Illustrates. Will Chara and Irelis be a monogamous relationship? Answer is yes, because Chara isn't one to just canoodle around with someone else while she's involved with someone. That's not her personality. She will be devoted, and Irelis will be as well. For the most part, I would say that Eternals are pretty monogamous people. The odds of finding another space elf is pretty phenomenal, so if they find one that they connect with, the odds are they are not going to want to share them. Another question was, do Eternals ever get married? And if so, what are their ceremonies like? And if they do get married, since Eternals lack their own sort of culture, because they have been nomads for as long as they can remember. No one knows where they have come from. No one knows their origin. They've been around for so long, but they don't know where they're from. So what happens is that Eternals sort of adopt other cultures as they explore and learn. So if they do get married, they would borrow a ceremony from someone else. Otherwise, they would just sort of understand that they are in a committed relationship together and make the appropriate promises. But if there was any kind of ceremony, they would borrow it from someone else. And another question was, what do you think Irelis will like most about finally traveling to different worlds? And what Irelis is going to enjoy the most is just being able to finally experience these new things again. She's been stuck in one place for so long. She hasn't been able to see anything new for thousands of years. It's just going to be so much fun for her to finally loosen up a little bit and be able to see these things and experience them. And Chara is definitely going to drag her all over the place to enjoy these things. And another one, do you think that Irelis and Chara will build a home somewhere together? My answer to that is probably not. At least not right away. Chara is a very exploring kind of person. She's not going to want to have one place to return to all the time. And Irelis, she will probably want a home, at least somewhere down the road. So eventually they will probably have at least one home somewhere. But that would take a while. Chara would need a little bit of convincing, I think, before she's ready to set up any sort of permanent homestead. She's very much an explorer, and she doesn't like to be tagged down. So, I believe that was all the questions that I received. And I hope you enjoyed this audio commentary. I had fun making it, and I hope you'll tune in for whatever comic that I have next, and thank you for listening.